The man who performed Liu Kang's moves in 2 Mortal Kombat games is fighting for a trophy shaped like a golden ninja star. The man who played Scorpion in the Mortal Kombat film is 2 meters away. An Olympic medalist in Taekwondo is warming up in the corner. Every one of them used their real names. The characters they played were fictional titles wrapped around actual competition records. The show acknowledged who they were. What it never made clear was why their records should matter to the person watching. The show was WMAC Masters. It aired on Saturday mornings beginning September 16, 1995. The first 13 episodes cost $5.5 million to produce. It sold badly as an action figure line, and it was canceled in 1997 with a cliffhanger no one ever filmed the resolution to. What the mainstream missed while canceling it was the specific thing it had actually built. The setup was a 1990s video game translated into a live-action format. Competitors in the World Martial Arts Council, a fictional governing body, fought for something called the Dragon Star, a gold trophy that looked like a shuriken surrounded by a dragon. Matches took place across a set of named battle zones at Universal Studios Florida, a ghost town built inside the Wild West stunt show stage, a Mayan courtyard with waterfalls and scalable boulders, a harbor dock in the San Francisco area of the park. One arena was built inside the Earthquake ride. The central arena, the Battle Dome, was a cage where both competitors tried to drive the other into electrified walls for scoring points. Ninjas entered at intervals to complicate the action. On-screen health gauges tracked each fighter's status in real time. Every fighter had a signature finishing move and a ki symbol, a personal emblem worn on the dragon belt. The whole structure was a live-action fighting game. It was also the visual language that made the actual athletic records in the cast invisible to anyone watching. What was inside the format was harder to read from the outside. Ho Sung Pak had performed the motion capture and live-action reference movements for Liu Kang in the original Mortal Kombat arcade game and its 1993 sequel. When a player executed Liu Kang's flying kick across arcade cabinets in North America, the biomechanics came from Pak's training. He had also played Shang Tsung in the first game, which made him the source material for both sides of the same fight. He was inducted into the Black Belt Magazine Hall of Fame in 1991, the youngest honoree in the organization's history at that point. That same year, he won the Diamond Nationals Grand Championship in men's forms. His name in Korean means superstar. That is the character name the show gave him. The fictional identity WMAC Masters, created for Ho Sung Pak, was the English translation of his actual name. His brother, Ho Young Pak, competed alongside him as Star Warrior. The writers built a sibling rivalry around them involving loyalty, a masked ninja, and a criminal organization trying to steal the Dragon Star. The actors inside those roles were brothers. The drama was scripted, the relationship behind it was not. Chris Casamassa had been the #1 ranked forms competitor on the North American sport karate circuit 4 times before WMAC Masters existed. He had won 18 forms Grand Championship titles, 2 National Weapons Championships, and an American Karate Hall of Fame induction. He retired from tournament competition in 1992. 3 years later, he was standing in the Battle Dome being awarded points when his opponent contacted the electrified wall. The character name Red Dragon came directly from his family's karate school, which his father had founded. When Casamassa signed on for WMAC Masters, he had already worn the yellow suit as Scorpion in the 1995 Mortal Kombat theatrical release. That casting decision came from the same logic: find someone who can actually move that way, then put a costume on them. His WMAC character came from his family's business. His Mortal Kombat role came from his ability to move. These were not separate identities the industry invented for him. They were the same person, packaged differently each time. Herb Perez competed as Olympus. The ki symbol was named Olympus because those were his actual credentials. Stated plainly, Perez had competed at the 1992 Barcelona Games in Taekwondo, which appeared at those games as a demonstration event rather than a full medal competition. He won the middleweight division. He had also taken bronze at the 1987 and 1991 World Taekwondo Championships, gold at the 1987 Pan American Games, and captained the United States national team 6 times. The show gave him a fictional title that was a direct reference to an actual Olympic appearance. Hakim Alston competed as the Machine. He was the NASCA men's light heavyweight champion and the NASCA overall men's fighting champion. In the show's first episode, Alston told the story of how he earned the name. Early in his career, his own pride had put him in a fight he was not ready for. He broke his leg, and the recovery reshaped how he trained. He named himself after what that experience had made him. Whether the story is biographical or a cleaned-up version of something messier, Alston told it as his own, on camera, with his real name on the screen. The production was built on a specific piece of industry logic that turned out to have a sharp expiration date. In 1995, Power Rangers was the dominant template for Saturday morning action content aimed at children. 4Kids Productions had partnered with Renaissance Atlantic Entertainment, the same company that co-produced Power Rangers for Saban, and the plan was to produce something that could compete in that space. The difference was that Power Rangers featured actors in costumes performing scripted fight choreography over Japanese footage. WMAC Masters featured actual champions performing scripted fight choreography in an original American format. The infrastructure was higher, the authenticity was higher, the marketing logic was identical, which is where the comparison collapsed. Power Rangers sold because children could immediately identify with the Rangers as characters. WMAC Masters was selling the same character framework while also containing a cast of real tournament champions who had spent years becoming exceptional at a real and difficult thing. The first category appealed to children, the second appealed to a different audience. Nobody in 1995 had a distribution model for reaching that second audience on Saturday mornings. The timing added another layer to the problem. WMAC Masters premiered less than a month after the first Mortal Kombat film arrived in American theaters. The film opened August 18th. The show launched September 16th. The film was a mainstream event, pulling in over $120 million worldwide. 3 of the people competing in WMAC Masters were directly connected to that film and to the games that preceded it. PAC had provided the movements for the franchise's most iconic character. Casamassa had played its most recognizable villain. Hakim Alston had appeared in the film in a supporting role. The show had access to that association and used it only obliquely in the fighting game aesthetic and the key symbol system, never as a direct bridge to the audience that had made Mortal Kombat a cultural event. The kids who had spent 2 years feeding quarters into those arcade cabinets were exactly the people who might have recognized what they were watching on WMAC Masters, and the show's marketing did not tell them where to look. The Bondi action figure line was supposed to be the commercial engine. Each master had a toy with a biography card and a signature weapon. Each had a key symbol. The figures were released in 1996 while the show was still in production. They sold at a fraction of the rate that Power Rangers figures sold at the same retailers. The comparison was unfair in a specific way. Power Rangers figures were sold into an existing mythology that the television show was actively reinforcing every week at scale. WMAC Masters was sold into a mythology that only the people watching on Saturday mornings knew, and the audience was not large enough to generate the kind of obsessive collector behavior that sustains a toy line. The show was canceled in 1997 after 2 seasons. Low ratings and a toy line that never approached Power Rangers level commercial traction are the documented reasons. A show built around genuine champions was gone. The director was Isaac Florentine, an Israeli filmmaker who had trained in martial arts from age 13 and who had made his name as a stunt coordinator on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Florentine directed all 26 WMAC Masters episodes across both seasons. He would later make Undisputed 2 and Undisputed 3, the Scott Adkins films that action audiences still cite when arguing about the best choreography in direct-to-video cinema. Florentine's WMAC work preceded those films by nearly a decade. Akihiro Yuji Noguchi, who played Cyclone in Season 2, had served as the primary Power Rangers stunt coordinator until Disney acquired the franchise, and continued in action coordination through projects Florentine was connected to. The children's show was where a significant part of that circle first worked together. Michael Bernardo was already a dominant presence on the North American tournament circuit when he became Turbo, the show's first Dragon Star champion. A Hall of Fame inductee at Black Belt magazine, he had won multiple Canadian and North American titles and posted 57 consecutive wins on the National Weapons Circuit, a run the magazine specifically documented. He returned to London, Ontario after the cancellation and built Bernardo Karate into a multi-location regional institution. Christine Bannon Rodriguez, who dominated the women's division across Season 1 as Lady Lightning, had won gold at the Waco Amateur World Championships in 1991 and again in 1993. Jamie Webster competed as Great Wolf, a name that came from his actual Native American heritage and translated accurately in that language. Richard Brandon played Yin Yang Man and wore an eye patch throughout the series. The character backstory the show constructed for him involved the loss of sight in one eye. The reason he had an eye patch is that he had actually lost sight in one eye. The fictional layer and the real histories of this cast kept aligning in ways the audience had no context to recognize. Lynette Love appeared in one episode. She played Tarantula, challenged Lady Lightning for the Women's Dragon Star, lost, and did not return. What she carried into that single broadcast included the heavyweight taekwondo demonstration event at the 1988 Seoul Olympics, a bronze at Barcelona 4 years later, and 3 world championship titles. She had won 6 Pan American golds. In 1993, the Guinness World Records listed her as the only American to win 9 national titles and 2 world titles in the sport. The show used her for 1 appearance. That accounting has not become less striking with time. The key symbols and the dragon belt and the fictional battle zone names all presented as pure invention. The credentials existed in the cast bios and in press materials, but they were not woven into the viewing experience in a way that made them feel like the point. The show did not completely hide its champions. It buried what made them extraordinary beneath the mythology it had built around them. Shannon Lee hosted the first season. Her presence was structurally more important than the production seems to have understood at the time. Shannon Lee was the daughter of Bruce Lee and the sister of Brandon Lee, who had died on a film set in 1993. Viewers who had no framework for Hakim Alston's competition record had an immediate framework for that name and that family. She provided a bridge between the real history in the cast and the audience that had no language for it. Her role in the first season kept the grounding visible. When she left, the show replaced her with a computer-voiced announcer, deepened the Jukido conspiracy, and lost the thread that connected the real people to the scripted drama around them. Season 2 was more elaborate in its plotting. It was also less legible to anyone encountering the show for the first time. The toy numbers were not approaching Power Rangers benchmarks. In 1997, 4Kids canceled the show with the Dragon's Star in the villain's possession and the story unresolved. Timac, the star of The Last Dragon, appeared 1 episode before the end as Striking Eagle. His Kai symbol was the Aztec word for his name, which is how this show worked. It built fictional identities by reading from the cast members' real history and calling it invention. Sophia Crawford, who joined in Season 2 as Chameleon, was a veteran Power Rangers stunt woman. She and several other cast members, including Bridget Riley and Eric Betts, had worked on that franchise before arriving here. Betts, who played Panther in Season 1, had appeared on American Gladiators earlier the same year. His exit from the show was not written. He broke his hip during production, and the character was written around his absence. The show went into distribution limbo after cancellation, resurfacing on the 4Kids TV programming block from 2002 to 2003, then landing on the CW's Toonzai streaming platform until 4Kids went bankrupt and Toonzai shut down in 2012. Since then, episodes have circulated on YouTube and nostalgia forums, finding the older audience the original broadcast never reached. In 2025, Carmichael Simon, who had competed on the show as Kid Carmichael, partnered with filmmaker James Sang Lee to launch a reboot called Quest for the Next. Open casting began at the US Open ISK, a World Martial Arts Championships. A Kickstarter for commemorative miniatures funded successfully. It was in early development at the close of that year. Isaac Florentine still directs action cinema. Chris Casamassa runs Red Dragon Karate across more than 12 Southern California locations. Ho Sung Pak continued in stunt work and fight choreography through credits including Transformers, Age of Extinction, and Westworld. Herb Perez earned a law degree from Rutgers, completed a master's through the IOC program at the University of Lyon, and served as mayor of Foster City, California. Hakim Alston worked in Blood and Bone and other action productions. Michael Bernardo runs his school. The Dragon Star sits unrecovered in a 1997 finale that nobody filmed past. The people who competed for it built careers in schools and records after the cameras went dark. The revival is in development. No release date has been announced. The original cliffhanger is still unresolved. 30 years have passed since the Dragon Star was stolen in that finale. Someone is still trying to find out what happens next.